So I'm sorry. The reason why I asked you that question is because I finally walked away in March of 2018, and then it was probably another 5 or 6 months before I became a Trump fan. And the reason why I became a Trump fan is because I developed a hatred for the media that I once loved. I loved Rachel Maddow. I loved Anderson Cooper. I loved that stupid idiot Don Lemon. I loved all of these
that one's tough.
Horrible people. Well, he's just the worst.
He is.
The thing about Don Lemon is, like, Rachel Maddow, I think, and even Anderson Cooper, they're savvy enough to know what they're doing. Like, it's intentional manipulation. I don't believe that Don Lemon actually knows it's a lie. I mean, when he goes on the TV crying every day and freaking out, and like, he literally thinks that the country is overrun by white supremacists. Like he's not in on the meetings when they're like let's run this narrative tonight. He just is reading from the teleprompter. He's like, white supremacists. I don't know if I remember. Oh, so when I finally discovered how much I hate the media and how toxic they are and what they're doing and the ways, especially that they're manipulating minorities and stuff, then I started to see that this rhetoric from Trump and his take no BS, but it's not just take no BS. I mean, he's a troll. He's a funny troll. And it's like, it's so empowering to all of these people on the right, conservatives, who a lot of these people, they're just living day to day, paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out if they're going to have enough money to pay their bills next month. Can I send my kids to college? Meanwhile, they're getting called Nazis, racist, white supremacists. They're getting called privileged. They're getting crapped on every day in the worst possible way, demeaned, just dragged through the mud, and they have no voice and they have no power. And here you've got the most powerful man in the office trolling his ass off on their behalf. And it's beautiful. It is the most gorgeous, beautiful thing about being alive right now. I love this man.
I think the like it is, to clarify, I think it's hilarious. When Trump won, I had my feet up. I was laughing. I could not stop. It was a hard. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Who did you vote for?
I didn't vote for anybody.
Why?
Because Obama, man. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. So I was just like, I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm so over this. I was chilling in D.C. with Cassandra Fairbanks. She was on board for Trump, surrounded in this newsroom by a bunch of Democrats. They were gloating, and they were the perfect example of snooty elitists, like, Trump is going to lose. Oh, he's so pathetic. When they announced he was going to sue because Nevada was coming in or something, they're like, here it comes. They all started laughing. And then we were watching the New York Times had this meter that was pointed all the way to Hillary Clinton, 99% chance of winning. It slowly started moving up towards Trump. And Cassandra, you know Cassandra, right?
I do, yeah.
So Cassandra's watching this, and she's like, oh my God, like it's going up for Trump. And then I remember when it crossed to 50-50, and we were both looking at each other. I wasn't in the bag for anybody. I was so fed up with the Democrats because I felt like Obama spat my face over war stuff. And so I was like, I don't like Hillary. I was really mad about Bernie because I was big for Bernie at the time. I was like, Bernie is this consistent guy. Oh, that's very different today. But anyway, so I was like, Hillary's about to get her comeuppance. I will laugh if Donald Trump wins. The meter starts going further and further. And then when it got to the point where it was like, Trump is going to win and nothing's stopping it, I just started laughing. Everyone in the room is like crying. Cassandra was crying tears of joy. Yes. Everyone else is crying tears of like shock and sorrow. And I was just laughing.
Taking off their I'm with her sticker.
You know what it was for me? It was cathartic. It was like, you get this. You play dirty games, and now you lose.
So good. So did you think he could win before he won?
You know what's interesting is part of me always felt like he would win, but I felt like the machine wouldn't let him win.
Interesting.
I feel that way right now too.
Right.
Like everything I see all the time, the Democrat, like Biden, he's not even. I don't know if you saw my tweet about it, but I said it. Biden Harris is kind of like when you're in a rush and your socks are dirty, so you grab two random ones out of the drawer,
right?
And you're not worried about impressing anybody at the Dairy Queen anyway, so you don't care and you walk out. It feels like they don't care. Like they're just like, well.
Yeah.
But part of me still feels like with all the mail-in voting stuff, everything they're doing, that they're going to play dirty games to try and shut him out.
I think so for sure. Can I tell you a funny little anecdote
about
the media? Okay. So you were talking about all the people in the press room who are being so arrogant. I have a good friend who works for a very popular national morning TV show on ABC that rhymes with
can see what
Hood Morning Shamerica. And
I see what you wrote down.
and she, very, very liberal, big Trump hater, she is. And after I'd had my conversion, she and I were having dinner. It was very tense. She's actually really cut me out of her life. She's one of like 90% of my former friends who cut me out. But we did have a dinner together after that. And I was trying delicately to explain to her how biased the media is. Now, I didn't think that she would take this personally because she's kind of she's more on like the production end. But she said to me, she's like, well, I am the media. And she was like, I don't agree with what you're saying. And I take that very personally. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. But I was like, I think that there's really clearly bias in the way that the media covers and handles Trump. And she was like, I know. And then she goes, well, I guess on election night, we did not even bother to create the Trump graphic if he won. I was like,
whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
You think? They created the Hillary graphic, but they didn't even bother to create the Trump wins graphic.
So we've often talked about how did the media miss this? There was a study that was done, I've cited several times, from I think it's University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana, that found the Beltway bubble is worse now than it was in 2016.
Okay.
So they're doing the same thing. You get Meet the Press going on and saying like, oh, Joe Biden, he's going to win. Trump's only got a 17% chance of winning. And I think her name's Savannah Guthrie. I'm not sure. She's like, we've heard this story before. Why should we believe it? And they're like, oh, don't be silly. Joe Biden's going to win. No, the Beltway reporters, they follow each other and no one else. So all they're doing is playing a game of telephone with each other all day, every day.
Right.
And so they just keep recycling the same garbage information without actually Googling anything.
But they shouldn't even be running polls after what happened in 2016. They should be so poll shy at this point. I can't believe they're still going with it.
Well, the poll thing is interesting. It's because they don't know how to actually poll Trump's base.
Yes.
And so they've admitted it.
Yeah. Straight
up admitted it. And right now, there was an article from Politico that said, we still don't know how to accurately poll Donald Trump's base. Right. And I'm like, then why are you polling? If you put out the poll, our margin of error is 10% because we can't, we don't know how to contact these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trump's base was new voters. So I think what really helped me and prevented me from, actually, let me put it this way. Bernie Sanders and Trump had a lot in common.
Yeah.
Early on. And so for me right away, I'm on the ground. I was covering these Trump rallies. I was meeting these people who are going to the rallies. And I was hearing a lot of them say, Bernie has said these things too. So we like him, but he's kind of too far left for us. And we want a businessman. And then after Bernie Sanders lost the nomination, I actually met several Trump supporters who flipped from Bernie to Trump, who said straight up their biggest issue was NAFTA and the TPP. I met one older guy who said, look, I work in a factory. I have kids. The factory is going to shut down next year. Bernie Sanders said that he was going to, end TPP and deal with NAFTA, and that would have saved my factory. So I had one guy, I met him, I think this was in Janesville, Wisconsin, who told me that because Bernie Sanders was a politician who had the experience, he thought he was the right choice, even though he was really far left. And then once Bernie got the boot, Donald Trump was his only choice.
Right.
There's a lot of people I met like that.
Yeah, I've met those people too. And I think that a lot of people are surprised when they hear people, for a lot of people, there's a closer gap between Trump and Bernie than there is between Biden and Bernie.
Yeah.
That is a further leap for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Hillary, Biden.
I went to a bunch of these rallies, and I remember one from Fort Lauderdale. I was talking to this woman. She was very nice, and she told me that she had not voted before, and she was like middle-aged, and she's like, I've never voted for anybody in my life. I never cared. And then Donald Trump came around and started talking about issues that matter to me and my family.
Right.
And now we're all here having a good time. We're barbecuing. They were having hot dogs, having a good time hanging out. Trump is hilarious. I think a lot of people on the left, they really don't want to admit it, but the man is a funny guy.
Oh, he's hilarious. And this, sorry.
I was going to say, the one thing I love was when he made fun of himself for being orange. He's like, the lights in this room, they're making me look orange. I don't know what it is. It's hilarious.
Yes.
So, for me, I didn't want to vote for anybody because I felt like, I'm going to vote for somebody. And then in the first couple of years, Trump, he brought on Bolton, he brought on some people he should not have brought on. He was getting involved in drone strikes, missile strikes, but he's cleaned up his act. Yeah. Absolutely. Now I think he's, no new wars. and actually trying to end the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and the establishment is trying to shut them down. That makes me really angry.
Can I ask how you feel about his handling of coronavirus?
I think it's fine. I think, yeah, absolutely.
I do too.
It's strange to me how many times we hear people say he should have done a better job. I mean, what? He runs the federal government. He banned travel from certain areas. He addressed the nation. And now it's up to the governors to decide what is the appropriate level of action.
Right.
Joe Biden announces we're going to do a mandatory national mask mandate. Mm-hmm. And you don't have the authority to do that.
Right. Well, and it's also, I mean, look, I know a lot of people say, oh, we shouldn't be politicizing this. It's already politicized. It's already political. And let's not pretend like it's not, governors on the left who want to keep everything shut down, who are pushing more. I mean, people on the right are like, let's go, let's get back to work, let's figure this out. But then the people, it's the Democrats who are also saying, Trump ruined the economy. Well, no, coronavirus ruined the economy, and you want to keep the economy ruined by keeping everything shut down, and then you want to blame Trump because you want to keep everything shut down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're in New Jersey. We're in the Philly burbs.
Yes.
The Atlas Gym. It's about 5 miles away.
Okay.
They arrested those two guys.
Yes.
We're looking. I looked at all the data. I'm looking at what the scientists are saying, and many are speculating now we've reached herd immunity a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Yet why are they still locking down? Deaths are way down. Hospitalizations are ridiculously down.
Yes.
Asymptomatic cases have popped up a little bit, starting to go back down again.
Yes.
Yet they're still saying it went from 15 days to slow the spread to 155, and we're not doing anything until we have a vaccine.
Right.
When were we ever trying to prevent everyone from getting sick?
I've been asking that question a lot. And why are we also now that, look, the number one thing that we should be looking at is deaths. That's really honestly all that we should be caring about. I don't care if there's 7 billion cases, if the majority of them are going to recover and everybody's going to be fine. But the death count is not really rising at any significant level by any metric. And so why now are people becoming so deranged about mask wearing and these, I mean, from our culture and our society, people are becoming absolutely nuts. And I'll tell you something too. I travel a lot in my work, a lot. And I've said New Jersey is the most COVID deranged state in the entire country. People are out of control here. I had like 3 incidents in one Wawa. One guy, 4 feet tall, came up to me and threatened to beat the hell out of me.
For not wearing a mask.
Wow. Yeah. And it was like this huge incident, and everyone in the Wawa wanted to get involved in it. And I was just like, and he's like this close to my face, pulling his mask down so I can hear him as he's threatening to beat me up. And I'm
for not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
There's a park not too far from here we went to. Nobody was wearing masks.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I wish there was more of that in New Jersey.
The thing to me is like people wearing masks in their cars and outside. That to me, look, I wear a mask.
Those are my favorite people in the car by themselves.
I have no problem wearing a mask in stores. I think it's not even an issue to me. I don't care.
Sure.
I go to the Home Depot or whatever, and I just pop it on. I mind my own business. I leave it, take it off. But it is the people who are outside who are acting like we're living through the apocalypse.
Right.
And that's a level of derangement that is very scary to me.
Yes.
I think my theory as to why this is happening, the media doesn't allow conversations that challenge orthodoxy.
Yes.
Within reason. Like they will ban conservatives. They will ban people who are of moderate opinion. They'll even ban liberals who challenge the status quo. Mm-hmm. It's all about maintaining that fear and that paranoia because it's like an uncontrollable mob that demands it. If you come out and you say something like, we've got Harvey Risch of Yale, MD, PhD, saying hydroxychloroquine can help. Not a cure, but it can actually get us through this. And they panic and they freak out and they ban the videos. They shut it down, even though Newsweek published him. And then it's a huge panic fiasco of how dare you publish this article. If the only acceptable opinion is that the world is ending, then the only thing anyone's ever going to hear is that's worse. It's worse. Every day it's worse. Even though it's not worse, it's getting better.
Right.
But even with all the charts, it's still the apocalypse. Nope, we're not opening up until we have a vaccine. We flatten the curve. The curve cannot be any flatter. Like we actually, New York, I think, New York City had no deaths yesterday. Actually, so I need to fact check that. Fact check me on that one. But if that's the case, then there's no flattening anything. There's no curve anymore. It's literally nothing there.
Right. Well, and people talk a lot about how, in our society today, young people are not taught how to think, but just what to think. They don't really know how to think clearly for themselves. In a way, I think that kind of carries over into society at large because, the whole and look, I'm no great scientist, don't get me wrong, but I know that the whole point of scientific theory and, hypothesis and experimentation is you rule out what does not work. You don't start by saying this is the right answer and no one's allowed to challenge me. So
Right.
I mean, why we're telling certain doctors who are contradicting the narrative, why we're shutting them down, banning them on social media and canceling them rather than testing their theory and saying your theory is bunk, this doesn't work.
It's crazier than that. Breitbart got their video removed and they were just reporting on a press conference. By all means, I think some of the things I said were absolutely incorrect.
Yes.
Like, I do not believe it's fair to say that hydroxychloroquine is a cure. I look to Harvey Rich, MD, PhD, because some of the doctors actually cited him, and he says it's just something that would help if used very early on. That's what he said so far. Don't take my word for it, and I always have to preface this. Just talk to your doctor. My opinion you should not be coming to me.
Right.
Do it on the internet for an opinion. No, you should actually talk to your doctor about it. They'll give you the better advice. The bigger issue is that news outlets are actually getting shut down. The conversation gets silenced.
Right.
And then regular people are sitting there watching CNN with only one allowed opinion.
Yes.
It's worse today than it's ever been.
Yes.
You hate life. Life is miserable and everyone's dying.
Yes. Yeah.
And then regular people out in the middle of the country throwing the football around, they're going to barbecues.
Right.
Everything's normal.
Now, when you're talking about masks and kind of how you feel about it, how do you feel about these jerks who don't wear them on airplanes? People like
You.
Who?
Oh, what?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I absolutely
sir.
saw this happen. I rolled my eyes and I'm like, why didn't you just wear a mask, dude?
Okay, can we get into it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I rolled my eyes.
Yeah.
And I was like, just wear it. Come on.
Stupid Brandon Straka.
No.
Stupid walk away idiot. Always looking
Not
for
wearing a
attention.
mask.
Yeah. No, that story was very much misreported, and there's kind of like a dual side to it too, which was it was one of in all of my trials and tribulations since I started Walk Away, and there's been a lot. That was the most helpless, honestly, I've ever felt, because almost no one from the conservative media came to my aid when, I mean, it was spinning out of control and fast, and it went international. I was on the airplane because they took me off the flight and they actually put me on another flight. And by the time I landed, it was on CNN.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, people were sending me screenshots that had my name, my picture, and it was, yeah. And I was like, so what actually happened, and maybe you'll disagree with this too.
Sure.
But I just want you to know what actually happened. I was on the airplane, and like I said, it's not unusual for me to travel every week, sometimes multiple times a week. And up until that point, I had never worn a mask on an airplane, ever. And no one had ever said a word about it.
Right.
It had never been a problem. And also, I wasn't the only one. There were, maybe even the majority were, but I was not the only person not wearing a mask on the plane. And I fly a lot, so I know that on every flight up until that point, they would make an announcement at the beginning, please be courteous and respectful to those who are unable to wear a mask. So clearly, it's their policy that not everybody has to wear a mask,
Right.
that some people cannot, and you should be courteous and respectful to those who cannot. So I had never worn a mask. I had never been asked to wear a mask before on a flight, and I was doing nothing out of the ordinary on that day. I was on the plane. We were very close to taking off, and this overzealous flight attendant walked up to me and said, literally, this is how the conversation began. First comments out of her mouth. She said, "Sir, you need to put on your mask right now or you can't be on this plane." That's what she said to me. And I said, "That's not true." And she was like, "It is true. It is true." She was like, "You need to put on a mask right now or I'm removing you from this flight." And I was like, "You can't do that." She said, "Yes, it's the law." I said, "It's not the law." And she was arguing with me about it being law. And I kept saying, that's not a federal law. It's not a law that you have to wear a mask. Now, this is where I involved myself in how stupid it got, because my ego got so involved in the argument about whether or not it was a law that I probably should have just dropped it. That would have been the right thing to do, because I was just annoyed by her tone. I was annoyed by her aggressiveness, and she was wrong. It's not a law.
Well, but hold on. Flight attendants can tell you what to do. Absolutely. Within reason, but if a flight attendant walks up to the captain and says, "Remove that man," you're out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But we hadn't gotten that far yet.
Right.
She was just telling me you have to wear the mask because it's the law.
Right.
And so I was arguing with her about that. So she got another flight attendant who came back, and this flight attendant decided to start in with the same thing. She was like, "Sir, the law is that you have to wear the mask." And I just said, it's not a law. It's not a law. You know, I mean, and again, I'm not saying I'm right here. I was being stupid and I was having a petty thing where I wanted to point out that there's a difference between law and policy, and I didn't like their tone, whatever. So once I got to the point where I realized I was like, this is really dumb, I just said, look, I just want to point out, I was like, none of you have even bothered to ask if I might have a medical condition that prevents me from being able to wear a mask. And they still didn't ask. I mean, they were still just kind of like so into we're
going to win.
We're going to win. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was. So they left. The two of them left. When they came back, they brought the pilots and they brought a manager from American Airlines. And the manager from American Airlines was like really not feeling me, like from the moment she walked over, like just, and see, this is another thing that bothers me too in this age of like mask wearing and COVID. Anybody in the hospitality industry has given themselves a complete pass to just be a total a-hole whenever they want. I mean, you walk into a restaurant, you walk into a hotel, where's your mask? Put your mask on. I'm like, can you still not just be like, good evening, sir, how are you? Welcome. Our policy here is that you have to wear, like,
right.
None of that anymore. Now people are just giving themselves carte blanche to be the biggest jerks that they want to be. So the manager walks up to me and she had an attitude right from the beginning. And she was just like, I hear that you're refusing to wear a mask and whatever. And I'm like, that's not even it. I was like, your staff didn't even bother to ask me if there might be a reason why I can't wear a mask. And then the passengers were getting agitated at this point. Just, let's go. and that was the moment where the woman said to me, I'm taking you off this flight. And I was like, whoa. Wow. Okay. And I put up no resistance. I put up no argument. I gathered my things and I left the flight. And when I got off the flight, I went to a different manager who was waiting outside, and I explained the situation. And that manager said, wow, it sounds like, that was not handled very well. And I was like, yeah, I agree. And then the manager that came into the plane who had an attitude, she came up to me and she said very quietly, she was like, did anyone from our staff ask you if you had a medical condition? And I said, no, that was my point all along. And she was like, okay, well, they really should have. And I was like, yeah, they really should have. So they booked me on another flight. I thought we were good.
Wow.
They said to me, will you wear the mask on the plane? And I was like, fine, I'll wear the mask on the plane. I got on the plane wearing the mask. I had a lovely flight with no incident. When I landed, CNN was covering the story.
How did they find out about it? Did you post about it?
Because there was a reporter on the plane next to me. And
creepy.
And he tweeted about it. And then they picked up the story from his tweet. And so when I landed at my connection, there was another manager from American waiting for me. He was waiting for me at the gate. He apologized. And he said, it sounds like this all got really blown out of proportion. And I said, I agree. I thought we were good. Like I thought it was over. It became a huge story because I think CNN broke it. And literally within like 24 hours, it went international. And I mean, it was really bad. And I have a thick skin. I mean, it didn't hurt me or anything, but it was, they went through my videos and they found, like, look how expressive I am, right? So they freeze frame moments where I'm like,
oh, no.
And they use that as the cover photo, and they're like,
Trump supporter.
Angry Trump supporter refuses to wear mask on plane. And I think the story got so big at that point that then American Airlines called me about 2 or 3 days later and said, you're banned from the airline.
Wow.
That's what happened. So this was never a thing about me feeling that a private company doesn't have the right to make their own policies, whatever. For me, this was just a thing that your policy is that some people cannot wear a mask. Yeah. So don't you feel an obligation to ask a person if there's a reason why they're not wearing one, rather than tell them, put your mask on or get off the plane, because that's not your policy.
Not only that, there were tons of stories about how airlines weren't enforcing mask policies too.
Right.
My thing was very much like, look, I think I saw a video from you, and then I saw the story, and I very passively looked at it, and I was just like, just wear the mask, whatever, man. But it is interesting because you could have just said sorry and put a mask on.
Right.
But what if she to what degree is a request unreasonable or inappropriate of a flight attendant? So look, I'll tell you this. I just put the mask on. I got someone sent me this really cool mask, got a little beanie on it.
Yeah.
I don't really care all that much. So for sure, I definitely rolled my eyes at the story.
Right.
But
well, I'll be honest with you. I am absolutely one of those people who sees the mask as an exercise in compliance. It is to wear it, especially to be forced to wear it when you don't want to wear it, is a sign of submission to a belief system that I don't believe in, to a theory about this virus that I do not accept and I don't believe in at all. And so I don't want to be a part of that. And I admit that. However, I cannot stop traveling. If I stop traveling, I have no movement. And so I have to comply with the private policies of airlines at this point to be able to do the work that I have to do. And I hate it, but it's either that or let's not have walk away before the election, which I think is not a good idea.
That I totally understand. Like I often tell people, hey, avoid swearing on the show because we don't want YouTube to get an excuse to shut us down or anything like that. And there are certain things I can't say. There's notably a CIA character. If you say his name, they'll just the stream will be shut off instantly. Yeah, like that's insane to me. Yeah, newsworthy and everything. But the way I see it is, do I have a better shot at letting people knowing what's going on by talking about all these things, or should I just get angry and shut it all down overnight because I refuse on something like saying a name? Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. Now that you know the story, have you changed your mind about how you feel about it? It's okay if you haven't. Which about you? About the airline? A little bit. I think, you're like, I still think you're a jerk, but no, I think you were being assertive. I totally understand the don't come to me and tell me you don't make up a fake policy and come at me, or don't exaggerate the policy, or don't disrespect me. Right. Like you said, if you're not seeing people saying, "I'm sorry, sir, it's our policy to wear a mask." They're coming at you in a very aggressive manner. Right. If someone came to me and got in my face, you're less likely. You get more flies with honey than with vinegar, right? Certainly. But let me tell you one quick anecdote. Of course. I got physically assaulted on an American Airlines flight. They refused to do anything to help me. Really? Yeah. I was boarding a plane, and usually this is really, really funny. You may notice that I just kind of, wear an unbuttoned shirt, not tucked in, with a beanie on. So I probably don't look like someone who should be flying first class. I was standing. I always do this. I have, as many people have jokingly referred to me, some kind of obsessive, compulsive, whatever. I get up about 20 minutes before every flight, and I get in line. I want to get in. I want to get my carry-on in, and I want to get out of the way as fast as possible. I don't want to be stuck behind anybody else, and I don't want anyone stuck behind me. So my thing is like, if I'm in the first boarding group, I'm in, I'm down, and I'm out of your way, and you're out of my way, and we're good to go. So I get in line, and this old couple walks past me, and I'm literally like standing. They're about to call, the first group. They walk right in front of me to stop in front of me. And so I was confused, and I assumed when they called, group one or whatever for first class, they just stood there. And I was like, they must be coach. They must have just, they're cutting in front, whatever. I walked past the guy, and he snapped. Hey, he started yelling. I walk up, she scans my ticket. They were first class. His wife shoves me, and I jolt forward, and then I turn around, and I was like, no way. And I told them that lady just like physically attacked me. What they said was, okay, we can pull both of you off the flight, or you can shut up. Well, you shouldn't have been shoved like that. It's your fault. I shouldn't have. Exactly. Yep.
You're asking for it, Tim.
And so they brought me, we went to the plane, and they were also sitting, a couple rows back in first class. God. And the lady was livid that I was allowed on or whatever. And like, I always sit in the bulkhead. I was like seat 1A. And I was furious. Like, I complained for quite a while. I was like, I was attacked by this woman who was angry because she cut me in line and I didn't do anything. And then now you expect me to get on this plane and say nothing. Otherwise, you're going to kick me off the plane. And they said, or we'll have you both arrested. So, needless to say, I have, I can understand your frustration and getting pushed around a little bit. But I was a dedicated American Airlines flyer before that happened. Yeah, well, everything. Nope, not anymore. Well, it's interesting too because I like I said, I fly constantly, and I feel like maybe I just wasn't paying attention before, but now I notice that their flights are cheaper than everyone else's flight. Every time I have to book, I'm like, of course, spending hundreds of dollars more every week. And I'm like, Argh. I even told you could have just put the mask on. I know. I told my assistant Paul. I was like, just write him a letter and tell him whatever they want to hear. Just be like, he's sorry, he feels bad. And like, I don't just tell them whatever they want. It's not worth spending. United's not that bad. Yeah, United's not that bad. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.